Okay, will you let me know once you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, great. Okay, the screen I'm showing you right now is the Inoxico Fabric Portal. It
Are you
is
able to, sorry, Zina, are you able to make it a little bit bigger or is it not?
is it showing quite small on your side?
Yeah,
Mm,
not.
yeah, let me just see.
Okay. We can see, but we
You
kind of.
can just click here on the top right-hand corner next to those two bars. It's in it. It will go full screen.
No, I
Top
think
right
it's
next to the X. Next to the X. On top, further up.
oh sorry. Yeah, it is on full
Yeah.
screen. It is on
Okay,
full
that's
screen.
full screen.
Okay, okay.
It's
And
on.
maybe if on
Let
your
me just see
side,
if I
Rena, if
zoom.
you can just punch
I've zoomed
control
it in.
and
Okay, it is much better now. Thanks.
Yeah, so I've zoomed it in.
Okay.
Is that a bit better for you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Okay. So
So I
this
just,
is, yeah.
sorry, we've also got Renee, who just joined us. She's our sort of, what's her name? Our IT person, our IT conduit between finance and IT. Again, with
okay.
her here so that she can see the full sort of process. All right,
That's not a problem.
cool.
Okay, so this is the Inoxico Fabric platform. Where I'm going to take you through how your digital credit application would look in the system. So I am currently using our testing platform. That's why you'll see this UAT banner on the top left. So what we have done is taken your credit application and we've now digitized it. We've also added in the Barrows logo on the top left, and then we've linked it to the colors according to your logo. But if you have specific corporate identity that we need to add onto the system, we can do that and make that change if you require that.
Okay.
Okay. During the session, if you have any questions, just shout it out and then we'll tackle them as we go along.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So basically the system starts off with a requesting user or an initiator, and that's the person who will log onto the system in order to start this customer onboarding process. Okay. Once they have logged onto the system, they will click on the select process tab, and this will then take them to a workflow that has been configured in the system. We do have a credit application, and this will be used for all new credit applications when you'd like to onboard a customer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so remember, I am playing the part of the requesting user. So this is somebody internal from your company, and they would like to onboard a customer. In order to do that, they will click on the start button, and it will then take them to a search page where they would be able to search for a company in our database. Okay. We are plugged into SIPC, SARS, and the courts. So all registered entities are available in our database. We do have your non-registered entities like your sole props, your trust partnerships, and companies situated outside of South Africa. If you would like to search for a company, the system is defaulted to company, and you can search using the company name, the registration number, or the VAT number. If it is a sole proprietor, you would click on person and you would search with the ID number. Okay, so I am going to click on company and I'm going to search for a company that we'd like to onboard. So I've used a company name. As you can see, if you add in a name, the system will bring up all the matches that we have in our database that have that word in their company name. You can match the entity you are looking for using the registration number. But if you have a registration number, you can search using that registration number and the system will bring up that particular company linked to that reg number.
Okay.
If you've done a search for an entity and nothing appears below, that may be an instance where we have not done a report on them previously and it's not a South African registered company that we don't have in our database, or it's a sole proprietor. You can still onboard that customer. The requesting user would need to click on can't find your company, add it now, and it will take them to the next page where they would need to stipulate the customer details and the contact information.
Okay.
Okay. But in an instance where you have located the company in our database, let's just use I'm just going to use ice cream company.
Sorry, guys, can I just interrupt? Sorry for interrupting, Zinat. I don't know. I'm picking up, there's a lot of audio. Can you guys hear us clear on this end? Because it seems like there's lagging audio.
Yeah, but we can mute at our end if you hear it.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks. I'll mute on my end as well.
Okay, no problem. So I'm going to use the ice cream company South Africa. You can match the company with the registration number. The VAT number that populates from SARS will show on the front end, and you would be able to see the business status. Okay. So the requesting user will then click on this field of the company, and the customer details will then auto-populate on the next page. This does pull through from our database, and it is verified information. You would then need to stipulate the customer contact information. So this is the person who would need to receive the application for completion. Okay. And whatever email is added in here is what the system will use in order to send that application to the customer. Once this has been added in, the initiator will click continue. The payment terms are defaulted to 30 days. And you would need to then stipulate the credit limit. And you would need to then select the department. So what we've done is we've added Barrows Cooler, Barrows Design, and Trade Reach as a department. So because you had sent us 3 different credit applications, we've actually created one workflow, but you can separate the applications according to the department, as long as all of those different business unit has the same terms and conditions. Okay, does that make sense?
Okay, it does. If we don't separate it, then does that mean then it's a group? Or do you have to select one at this level?
Okay, so if you have separate terms and conditions for each of these different businesses, we'd have to create 3 different workflows. So you'll have a Barrows Cooler workflow, a Barrows Design workflow, and a Trade Reach workflow.
Yeah, that's not what we want. We're wanting the terms and conditions to be the same.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
So this is, I'm just showing you an example of how it can be changed. Yeah. So I'm just going to select Barrows Cooler, and the system is defaulted to South African Rand. The initiator will then click on initiate. And once they click on that, this is the notification they will receive on the system stating that the application is sent and is currently being processed. What our system is doing now is an automatic validation on that business to see if there's any adverse information and to confirm if that business is in a valid business state as per the registrar. The application will then go to what we refer to as an initial risk reviewer who would be able to view those risk checks on the system. I am going into PaperCut, which is our catchment area for all emails that are sent through from our testing environment. So the initial risk reviewer will then receive an email stating Barrows Cooler credit application review requested. And once they open up that email, the email will indicate that the application has undergone several risk checks and is ready for review. Now, as you can see, the logo is now changed to this Barrows Cooler logo, whereas on the initial platform, we just had the Barrows logo and corporate identity. Okay, so this is just showing you how it would then split the logos. So for the different business units, each one would have its own logo. So when that application goes to that customer, they will see that it's actually for this business unit.
So tell me, that whole risk reviewing process, is it going to a human, and what's the turnaround time? How does that process work in the back end?
Okay, so it's an automatic check that's done the minute the application is initiated by that requester. The system does that verification automatically, And in a few seconds, the risk reviewer will get this email. The risk reviewer could be somebody in your credit team, so a credit controller, for example, and they would be able to view the results of the risk check. So it's still an internal process. This indicates the application is still with you guys. This is before it's actually sent to that customer for completion.
Okay. Okay.
So if this goes to the creditors team, they would be able to see how long that the business has been doing business for longer than 12 months. They're not an existing customer in the database under your company. They are in a valid business state. There's no judgments linked to them. They've not been declined previously, and there's no adverse listings. Okay.
I just want
So
to add,
this,
Rina, sorry to interrupt, Zina. So, Rina, as you notice, these risk checks are also in line with your credit applications, right? So it's not just set up by ourselves. We try to obviously adhere to your particular credit app.
Okay. Perfect.
okay,
Okay, Zina?
so from the get-go, you would be able to see if this company is in a valid business state. So, for example, if they were in deregistration, liquidation, business rescue, or any other adverse business status, upfront, you'd be able to see that you are going to be onboarding a customer that is actually trading. Okay. So that's why these risk checks have been built in order for credit to make sure that sales wants to onboard a customer that is legit. If you are not happy with any of the risk checks, so for example, if there's a judgment, there will be an X next to one of these fields, or if it's in liquidation, there'll be an X, and the initial risk reviewer can decline the application. So if it's declined at this point, your customer will not receive a link for them to complete your credit application. Okay. If you are happy with the outcomes of the risk checks, you will click on Submit Application, and the application will now go to the customer for completion. Okay, any questions so far?
Okay. No. So far, so good. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so only at this point does it go through to the applicant on your end, your customer.
Yes. Understood. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to open up PaperCut, and I am now going to be acting as your customer, and I've just received an email stating Barrows credit application, and it will state that you've recently applied to be a customer, and the customer will then need to click on complete application, and this is when it will open up your digital credit application. Okay. The application does indicate thank you for applying for a credit facility, and they would need to complete the application below. And if they are not the correct person who needs to fill this in. So in an instance, if the application goes to a person that's not authorized to provide information, or they don't have the relevant information, they can click on this reassign button on the top right and reassign the application to a person who is authorized to provide company information. They can do this at any point during the application. The average time to complete this is 4 minutes. So the minute your customer opens it up, they can take roughly 4 minutes as long as they complete it and don't. Sometimes some people will complete a piece and then leave it and then come back at a later stage, but it will take them 4 minutes to complete. Okay, the first section is where they would confirm their business. So this is the registered name, the entity number, which does pull through from SIPC. It is verified information. Your customer will not be able to amend these fields. Once they click on next, they would need to view the consent information. So we have added in the consent clause. It does tie into the POPIA Act as well. We've also linked the Noxico privacy policy. And if you have a link to your privacy policy, we can add this into the system. And when your customer clicks on that link, it will open up your privacy policy. Hey, do you have a link to your privacy policy?
Not that I'm aware of. I'll have to check.
Okay, no problem. That's fine. Okay, so the customer will not be able to move forward with the application unless they provide consent. Okay, there is a cancel button. So if at any point they don't want to continue with completing the application, they can click on cancel and they would then need to select a reason why they are canceling the application. Okay. The next section, they would need to confirm the credit limit. So this is the limit that was added in at the beginning of the initiating stage. So that's when the requester added in the credit limit and the terms. Financial information. So the system will ask them for either 3 months bank statements or financial statements, and this will be used in order to conduct an affordability assessment on this particular customer. Okay, so they would need to provide their annual turnover, and they would need to attach 3 months bank statements. Okay, so what we can do in our back end is ask for bank statements when at a specific amount, and we can ask for them to attach financial statements when the credit limit is a specific amount. So currently in the testing environment, we've loaded the low amount as 20,000 and the high amount as 150,000. So any amount above 20,000, the system will ask for bank statements to be attached. And if the amount was above 150,000, it would ask for financial statements. Now, from your side, what would you consider an amount where we need to ask for bank statements? So a medium amount and a high amount for financial statements. Do you perhaps know that from your side?
I'm going to have to run this through the FDs. So I'll make a note of it to see what those levels need to be.
Okay, no problem.
All right, great. I'll follow up with you on that one as well, Rina.
Okay.
So yeah, because I think it would be best to have that because we need to know what your medium risk and what strategic risk, and obviously they'll mitigate by providing all the relevant documentation.
Yeah, yeah.
Great, great.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Okay, the next section. So these are sections that we've taken from your credit application. The customer would need to upload a bank confirmation document not older than 3 months. I saw in all the other applications, they were all similar with the type of information you ask. They would also need to upload a tax clearance certificate, the business trading physical address, the contact person for sales orders.
Rina, and Larissa, at any time, if you guys feel that you want to add something to this, please feel free to let us know because it's not really static. We can make a few changes as long as it doesn't include dev work or development work.
Okay, noted. Thanks.
Okay, contact person for accounts, bank account information, financial credit information. So they would please select your annual turnover. So they need to indicate in excess of 50, between 10 million to 50 million, below 10 million. And they would need to select the asset value. They would also then need to provide the expected monthly purchases. Okay. Once they have completed this section, they will click on next and it will take them to the terms and conditions. So your terms and conditions will be loaded over in this section under the terms and conditions. So that's where we would actually load the terms and conditions you would send to us, where the customer will need to read through the terms and conditions. Do you allow disputes on your terms and conditions?
I actually, as I said, I'm going to have to check with the legal lady because it wasn't up to date. I didn't even bother checking them.
Okay, no, that's fine.
All
That's
right,
fine.
and then, sorry to interrupt, Zina. Okay, and then the reason why we're emphasizing on the terms and conditions and obviously the payment terms as well, T's and C's, is remember this is an electronic document and there's electronic signature as well. And for this document to hold and stand in court, if ever, God forbid, it gets to a legal platform, these T's and C's, once your customer ticks off on he accepts the terms and conditions, it will hold in a court of law. So currently, I think it will be very important that we get that T's and C's, the sooner the better.
100%.
Okay, no problem. That's fine. Okay, so the customer will need to accept the terms and conditions. Once they click on next, it will take them to the sign and submit section. If they are an authorized person to sign documentation, so by law, a active director of the business does have authority to sign company documentation. All the active directors will populate on the list provided below. If they are a director, they will select their name and they need to upload a copy of their ID. If they are not a director and they select other, they will need to provide their full name, a copy of their ID, and a board resolution that gives them authority to sign company documents. Okay, so I'm just going to I'm going to select a director and I'm going to attach a test document. Once the document has been uploaded, the proof of identity, a one-time PIN will be sent to the email address of the person completing the application. Okay, I'm just waiting for that to come through. We've got multiple people testing over here. There we go. Okay, so here's the one-time PIN that will be sent. Once the one-time PIN is added into the system and they click on submit, that brings us to the end of the customer completing your credit application. So there you have your application with all the documents you need, all the fields you require. You won't have to go back and forth with the customer in order to get those documents you require. Once that application has been completed, it will then come to Inoxico where we would do our due diligence on the business and we would then run our limit recommendation on that customer and then provide you with a limit recommendation once that application moves to the final approval stage. Okay, so now the application will come back into the creditor's team. So we can have, for example, it can come to a credit manager who will be a level 1 approver. They will receive credit review requested. The final approvers will be able to see that the application has undergone some risk checks. And once they click on view results, it will open up the digital application. So
Sorry
you
to
would
interrupt, Zina. Rena, I think we also need to touch on that in terms of levels of approval within the business. I need to find out on your end, what do you think, or who will be the levels of approval? I'm assuming you can have 5 levels of approval. We could, I don't know if Sarl is the actual one who signs off on the credit apps, or would it be yourself and Larissa? We can set it at 3 levels where everything first comes through to the credit controller, then the FM, and then you can finally go right up to the CFO.
Okay, I will let you know again. The sort of final approval in my mind would either be Clive or Saro, but yeah, I would see it coming through to the controller first, and then going through to be those two for approval.
Okay, so you suggest
Either
that we
or.
set it. Okay, can we set it up to, I don't know, would you also like to have line of sight of it, meaning where it will first go to the credit controller, then it comes through to you, and then it goes through to Sarl at the end?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just do that. All right, you can continue, Zina.
Okay.
So just for Savil's the FD on 2 of the businesses, and then
Correct, you
Clive
did say that.
Clive is on the other 2. So I just need to check, whether it's just whether we need we're moving to one sort of company now. So there's a lot of change happening in
You did say
pipeline. So I just need to see whether it's going to be either or strictly one person per company. I'll let you know.
Okay, and then on that same point, I just also want to stress that if he is one person can only be a level of approval on one platform, cannot be level of approval on level 1 as well as level 2. So there will have to be somebody else in. Okay.
Right. I get it.
Zenith, you can continue.
Okay, so once the application moves to the final approval stage, you'd be able to see the information of the company. You're also able to view the digital signature. So if you click on view digital signature, it'll open up the digital signature. You can see the signature has been verified. You would also be able to see the terms and conditions that have been included on the application. And the signature has the technical details linked to it, which will hold up in a court of law. Okay, the full application button. This will have all the necessary information you require. So this is actually the application that we've just completed. So this is the customer application, and it would have all the necessary fields you require, as well as the documents that they would have needed to attach on the application. And then you would be able to view the Inoxico report that comes with the application, which will provide you with the company information, all the principal details. If we've ran a bank code on the company, you would be able to see that, as well as tax and VAT information. You would then be able to see a limit recommendation. So the system will then provide what limit we are recommending to that particular customer under this field over here. But because I'm in UAT, that currently doesn't show. But through the trade show platform, we would then tell you what limit to actually give that customer. Okay. As a final approver, you would be able to then amend the approved credit limit. So if you want to give them less or a higher amount, you can update this from your side. And then you have the ability to either decline the customer's application or approve the customer application. If you approve the application, it will ask you for motivation. So this will be your internal notes that you can add into the section. And once you click on approve, it will bring us to the end of the digital credit application process. Okay, so that's basically how your current application will move through the system from start to finish. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Zenith, when it comes back from the client, what's the sort of time limit then between it coming to client, going through like your sort of process, and then coming through to us for approval?
So that takes roughly about 30 minutes for us to complete the report, and then we'll push it back to the final approval.
Okay, depending on whether the client, completes it on time as well and sends it back on time. Is that what you're referring to, or are you referring to that once it comes back from the client, when do you have line of sight of it?
Yeah, once it's completed by the client and submitted from their side, if there's any sort of delay, or
Yeah, once it hits in Inoxico, how long we would take to then push it through to the final approval. Yeah, roughly about 30 minutes that we would take to finalize that report, capture all the information.
Okay.
So, yeah, as Zinat mentioned, will be 30 minutes, correct?
And now that the approval's completed, is it saved somewhere? I mean,
yes.
That's okay.
Yes, so in the TradeShield platform, you'll have access to a workflow overview, which is the old action center on our Fabric platform. All the completed applications will always be available here, and all the documents will always be stored on the system as well. So that will always be available in the platform. You can always keep track of how those applications are moving as well.
Okay, yeah, I saw a download button as well if we need it. Okay. Okay, any other questions?
You can also, oh yes, you can also download this application. So if you would like to download your credit application, you can download the PDF and save it on your computer or in a folder if you need to from your side. That's also available on the system.
But it says credit application Barrows design and manufacturing. Just I don't know. What's that?
Yeah, so we need to also just decide and discuss who the contracting party is first before I give them the final sort of answer on that. Yeah. I'm just trying to see. So in terms of our details, like Barrows Kula on the document, is it not necessary for us to have our reg numbers and things like that? I mean,
Yeah, it's fine.
yeah.
Or like a contact person.
Let's get that again.
Like currently on our sort of manual process, it's on a footer in terms of which company it's coming through. There's no legal requirement or anything for that to be the case through this process, right? Like Kula's registration information as an example.
Oh, the registration number. Yeah, no, you don't actually have to add that in because the terms and conditions will cover
Well,
all
yeah,
that information. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. Something else? It seems simple enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
But
quite
bear in
simple
mind, this is
and
just we're just sampling this for you. Now it's the time for you guys to say yes, we want this, change that, chop and change that. Then what we're gonna do is once Zenith is done with this, we're gonna basically give you the time to test the platform, play around with it, and pick up, if there's any gray areas that you've identified, you'll raise those concerns. And then after 3 days of testing, then we will move it to the live environment. Because remember, you're not going to do everything as well on this platform alone. You guys are signed up for Trade Shield as a whole, right?
yeah.
Which we will run another session. This is just one portion, which is the credit application that we've automated. Once we're done with it, it's going to look a bit more different, but a different platform altogether. Once you guys sign off on this first, after you guys have tested it.
Okay.
Because now that we don't also have the T's and C's, we will probably have to just run another session with you guys. Well, not necessarily a session, just show you what it will look like, what it looks like after we receive all the necessary documents. And then once we've uploaded it, we'll just show it to you, and then we move over to the live environment. Then we show you what it looks like in a live environment and your entire trade shield that you signed up for.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, thank you, Rudy. Thank you, Zenith. I think
Thank you. So I'm going to send through an email with the logins to this testing platform and the paper cut to access the emails where you can go in and test that application.
Okay, that actually is another question that I have, because currently in terms of logins,
Yes,
like I haven't given you a list of the
correct users.
Yeah.
I was
So
about to
I'll
ask
do
that.
that. And then
pay over and above for additional users. I think it was capped at a certain amount.
yeah, we have quite a few. I mean, the old
We need to
system was
take
capped, but
We
this
need to
one,
take out some of the old names that there's people on there that are not yet entered. So
will give a fresh
Hey,
list.
today,
Yeah.
need to do a fresh list. I know.
Okay.
I'll be going to say.
No. Okay, is that fine then, Rudy? I'll send you a list.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you by any chance know how many users you have?
Doesn't deal with clients at all.
Probably 5 then.
35. Oh, okay.
Five, not 35. 5.
No, that's fine. What I wanted to say is, obviously, when it comes to the testing, I think it would be advisable to have, a certain amount of people testing and signing off on it and then rolling it out to the team, unless you want to have everyone else testing. Because then I'm trying to manage and coordinate this so that, we work within the timelines as well of the 3 days so that we don't have many people using and finding lots of concerns, but it's fine as well if you want to take it that route for due diligence.
So in the 5 that I'm talking about, it's actually 2 controllers, myself, and then Clive and Sadal as approvers.
Okay.
So those are the 5 that.
No problem. Zenith, is that okay? That figures? I think Zenith can comment on those parts, that portion.
You can have as much users on the system as you like.
Just the testing.
And
for testing, yeah. So
For
it's
testing
just
as well.
one
Oh,
login.
Testing.
It's
Look,
It's just one login detail that everyone uses for testing. We don't create multiple users for testing.
no, for
It's only
testing.
like, but you
Okay.
can all log in with the same login details
Okay.
into this testing environment. I'm going to send that through to you.
Normal licensing, there's like a large amount of licenses that we can have. It's not limited like the old system, right, Rudy?
Yeah, no, we don't charge on the licensing. That's correct.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, then if we can just have that, so we can just like log in at least, so we can see, and then obviously need to send you some information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, no, that's great. So yeah, as Ms. Zinat mentioned, it will be, you guys will basically use one, for the testing environment. But when we move live, everyone will have their own, and then we'll assign. I think we will discuss that, Rena, where we need to know who's a credit controller assigned to get what, or whether you want everyone to have line of sight of everyone's work, or whether we have to portion. Like normally when it comes to credit controllers, everyone is assigned to their own portion of work. We can do that, or we can give an overall view of what everyone is doing.
Okay.
But we'll get to that conversation later.
When we get there. Yeah. All right. Okay, great.
All right. So next steps, just before we end, we can expect the user details as well as the terms and conditions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Terms and conditions. I had the conversation with her. I've got another session with her next week.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that she gives me something.
No problem.
Sure.
That's fine.
All right.
Okay. Thanks
Cool.
a lot. Appreciate your time.
Guys. Okay. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.